We began our journey by flying from Houston, Texas to Geneva, Switzerland. We were tired from our overnight flight, but we couldn't check in until the afternoon. Our first stop was at the United Nations, but they wouldn't let us in, and they had a crummy chair. Our next stop was to relax at the Botanical Gardens. They were very pretty. After that, we made our way down to the shores of Lake Geneva. We saw the famous Jet d'eau and the l'horloge fleurie, or flower clock. Then we went to Luigia for dinner. Pizza, of course. On our way to our apartment, we stopped at the Coup de Chapeau so that I could get a hat to protect my scalp from sunburn. After a good night's sleep, we got up and went out to see more of Geneva. We walked through the Jardin Anglais, or English Garden. Then we walked over to the Parc Lagrange. It's a pretty park with a rose garden, statues, fountains, ponds, lots of pretty stuff. These guys were clipping a bee topiary. The park had a very nice view of Lake Geneva. After the garden, we walked back into the city. Most people were at work, so it was fairly quiet. We walked through a farmer's market. Then we visited St. Pierre's Cathedral. Of course, we had to climb to the top of the cathedral. Can't pass upstairs. The view of Geneva from the top of the cathedral was amazing. St. Pierre was built on a hill in the heart of the old city center. It had a nice view of the lake and the Jet d'eau. Then we went to the Tavel House Museum. I loved this model of what the city was like hundreds of years ago. The museum strictly enforced their rules. They had some cool cannons, but we weren't allowed to shoot them. After the Tavel House, we went to do our favorite activity in Geneva, the Choco Pass. It entitled us to tasty treats at artisanal chocolate shops all over the city. We walked from chocolate shop to chocolate shop, eating a variety of wonderful treats. It was like trick-or-treating in heaven. But eating too much chocolate can lead to nightmares. The next day, we set out on a bike ride. Yeah, I should practice shifting gears. Not sure that a 30-kilometer ride after not having been on a bike in years was a good idea. There were bike paths through most of Geneva, so it wasn't too bad. Once we left Geneva in Switzerland, we biked through the French countryside. It was supposed to be wine vineyards, but we saw a lot of cornfields. Maybe those are moonshine vineyards. At times, the ride was fairly steep. You can see the lake off in the distance. I would have preferred an e-bike. It was a long ride and my seat got sore. Yvoire is a French town with a medieval look. They don't let you ride bikes through the town, so we had to walk ours. Our first stop in town, after the bathrooms, was the Garden of Five Senses. That's sight, touch, smell, listening, and tasting. Kathy was braver than I was.
I eat it.
Yvoire has a lovely castle, but it's privately owned and they didn't let us go inside. We did have a nice lunch there. Pizza, of course. Rather than ride bikes, we opted to take a ferry back to Geneva. I really wasn't in the mood to sit down. The ferry had an old-fashioned drivetrain. That was kind of cool. And it was really nice just being out on the lake on a cool sunny day. And none of the boat ride was uphill. The Jet d'eau let us know we were back in Geneva. Overall, it was a good day. The next day, we took a train to Laussane. It was our first intercity train in Switzerland. It was just for a day trip. Laussane is a beautiful town on the north coast of Lake Geneva. There were a bunch of lovely hotels along the lake. We saw some people rowing out on the lake. And if it was warmer, I would have loved to have taken out a paddle boat with a slide. We hiked along the promenade, saw this kind of cool tree, and they built a circular perch for birds to fish at the mouth of an estuary. And I have no idea what this temple thing was, but it was pretty, so we took a picture. And this, I have no idea. Laussane is the home of the Olympics and they have a museum there. The first Olympic event was the long stair climb. That's a regulation-sized shot. It was heavy. And that is the high jump record. Somebody jumped over that. Those guys were the Paris mascots. Kathy was carrying a torch for me. This is a model of the original Olympic village in ancient Greece. They had a collection of mascots from the prior Olympics. And they had a huge room full of Olympic paraphernalia. After that, we hiked up the hill into the city and had lunch, pizza of course. And then we went to church at the Laussane Cathedral. It had lots of pretty stained glass. That's Kathy basking in the colorful glow. And of course we had to climb up the tower. The church tower had a gorgeous view of the city and the lake, but it was an exhausting hike to get from the lake shore up to the top of the tower. After that we headed back down. We went to the Collection de l'Art Brut. It was an art museum for people with mental health issues, more so than the typical artist. It was actually kind of cool, a little disturbing, but cool. And after that we were done and we returned to Geneva for our final night there.